Hello and welcome to the World's News headquarters. My name is Matt and I will be your host today for this podcast. Today I wanted to talk about something that's been a big issue in the United States of America, and I'm guessing around the world, since this is kind of getting to the point of international news. Please bear with me, this is my first podcast, so don't expect it to be beautiful or outstanding, I guess you could say. But I was inspired to make this podcast in response to I traded a few lines with the YouTuber Rob Dyke. I don't know if you know him. He has a great channel. Go check him out. He's really cool. But I was inspired to make it because a couple things he said. He put up one thing about the cops and said that they need to lay down their badges and march along with those people. Kind of getting on the cops for protecting people from the protesters protesting the police. Now, I don't know if it makes sense to any of you guys out there listening, but it doesn't make sense for me to have the police force go and join the protesters, some of whom are literally hitting cops with their cars, telling them to do it again and saying F the police. They are literally out there protesting the police on a race issue that's not even a race issue. We can get into the whole Michael Brown thing a little bit later, but the whole Eric Gardner thing, I can see how you can argue that being police brutality, but that was in no way, shape, or form a race issue. Eric Gardner's wife even said it wasn't a race issue. The whole idea of it being a race issue is out of question if you're out there going against police brutality. We'll get to that in a little bit later, but it's kind of, I would say, unwarranted. Something you never really hear about nowadays is police deaths and those in the army who have died. You hear about the Trayvon Martins, the Michael Browns. You only hear about them occasionally when I'm going to say the progressives want to make it into a race issue. And they kind of use it against those who say it's not a race issue, and then it becomes a whole who's racist, who's not dealio. But generally people on my side, the right, bring up facts and don't just say, F the police. They actually know what they're talking about. A couple names here. Where's the parade for Deputy Sheriff David Bubba Johnson, Agent Carlos Rivera Vega, Detective Sergeant Tom Smith, Police Officer Kristen Wilhite, Under Sheriff Brian Beck, Sergeant David Baldwin. These are people that you will never hear about in the media. And, 2014, this year, thus far, there have been 110 police deaths. So that means there is a whole list of people's names. But most people don't seem to care. They don't care to look up the names. They don't care to parade for these people. They want to protest. They want to support pretty much the ones who are killing the police, who hate the police. These police are out there saving lives. Ferguson is a wonderful, wonderful example. We saw, even with a police force, how lawless it can get. This is touching into another issue, anarchy versus government, which I'll be happy to get to in another episode. But they're keeping us from that complete lawlessness. They're keeping from what happened in the Ferguson riots from happening in the rest of the world. They were able to contain those riots to Ferguson. You can get into the more secluded protests later on, but they're keeping those relatively calm. There are still people out there saying F the police and hitting them with their cars. By the way, these people out there protesting them don't realize that the cops that are there keeping the protest under control are getting paid for that. They do realize that, right? They're not working for free, they're getting paid overtime. Now, They are, as someone said on my political site, babysitting a-holes, which would suck. But, okay, so police brutality is such a big issue now, and everyone's making it an issue, and it's turning into a race issue, which is something I'll get into, I guess, later on in a couple weeks. But, okay, according to the Washington Post, apparently the police do not put out a record of how many people they killed. This is according to the Washington Post. But they said it's somewhere about 1,000. They went on to say about how terrible it is that all these people had to die. What we don't see is that most of these people are not innocent little butterflies that the police come and whack with their guns and start shooting them on the ground. That's not how it goes. These people are violent criminals. Now, true, some of these people, I'm not going to say delicate like butterflies, but some of these people were probably innocent. But for the majority, I'm saying there was reasonable cause, and someone's life was in danger. So that's about 1,000 people a year are killed by police. Let's put these numbers into perspective, because I'm a very factual person. I love facts. The Chicago death toll in 2013 could make up about half of that. It was about 421 murders in Chicago, 2013 alone. Okay, that is one city. We're not seeing the riots for the people killed in Chicago every day. We're seeing these very secluded cases of police shootings. And it's sad. Okay, in 2013, there were about 35,200 traffic deaths alone in the United States. We don't see riots going after these cars. Now, true, some do have recalls, but you're not seeing the people out there protesting cars, riding on bicycles, or going back to the 80s on skates. You're not seeing these protests really against cars. It's crazy. Medical deaths, according to the American Medical Association, was about 225,000 in 1 year. Are people going to stop going to the hospital every time they get sick? Just like these people protesting the police, are they going to stop calling the police every time they're in danger? I'm guessing the majority of these people protesting don't have guns. I'm sorry, that's not a factual statement. I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but that is my assumption. What are they going to do when someone breaks into their home? If they're all about down with the police, then why on earth should they call the police? Let them see what happens without the police. Now, something else that really gets on my nerves is when people are always like, I get so nervous when a police officer's behind me. Like when there's a police behind me when I'm driving, I get so nervous, or in front of me, I know that they're gonna shoot me. Like, no, they're not. If you're obeying the law, you should feel safer. Because, you know, if you're in a car accident or someone starts shooting at your car for some random reason, you have a police officer right there with a gun and medical training that's going to be able to help you. They're not there just to pull you over and give you tickets. They're there to protect you. Something else I'd like to get into. I had a friend, I guess I could say, was going to protest the whole Michael Brown thing. And she said that since police were randomly shooting black males, I can't make this up. Since police were randomly shooting black males, she was scared that the police would soon turn and start shooting her, because she was an African-American woman. Sometimes you have to choose your debates, and this was not mine. But I thought it was utterly and stupidly ridiculous to think that. I'm good friends with an African-American cop. I think she's going to tell you against the narrative that police just see an African-American male, I guess now it's But just the thought that I know that there are African American males on the police force, and they're not getting shot by their buddies. They're not shooting themselves. Like, that kind of thinking is illogical, and I know it sounds completely ridiculous, but it's what's happening. It's someone out there literally thinks that police are just opening fire on African American males and soon it's going to turn into African American women. Someone literally thinks that. I'm going to blame the mainstream media for this. People like Al Sharpton, and even Obama, he's contributing to it. He goes out and talks about Michael Brown, but you don't hear about all those police officers that I named and plenty more. You don't hear him talking about that. You don't see White House officials going to their funerals. You don't see White House officials going to the deaths of American soldiers. No. You see them going to thugs' funerals. Now, true, Michael Brown's death was a tragedy. Anytime someone dies, it is a tragedy. But he should not be held up as a hero as compared to those who really are. This is Matthew with the World Snews headquarters. Thank you, and God bless.